someone's trying to destroy England. It's literally like they've got a concerted effort to destroy England, and they're getting away with it.
Yeah, and what happens over there?
It's really crazy. It's really crazy to watch, because the mass immigration's not an accident. If I was going to destroy a country, I would do it exactly the way they're doing it.
As I promise, like, and even it's been a weird these past few months, and knowing out.
Right, so I've been back in the UK for 2 days, and I've seen more shit in the last 2 days than I have in the last 9 months.
If you're waiting for a UK housing crash in 2026, you're going to be disappointed. Happy New Year, and here's my 2026 prediction.
We're about to hit a tipping point in the UK. In this country, we now have 55% of households receive more benefits than taxes that they pay, and their turkeys voting for Christmas if they try and make the government more lean. Doing what's right for the country would be a personal disadvantage. They're reliant upon a tiny minority of millionaires, and they're saying, hey, this isn't a fair deal anymore.
It's the mass exodus of millionaires.
There's an exodus of millionaires, so that's where the stage is set for the UK's collapse.
Wow. The UK is now the second most depressing country to live in officially. Taxes are at a post-war record high, up to 45% income tax on what you earn, then 20% VAT tax on what you spend. If you're a business, you have VAT, then 25% corporation tax, then business rates, then 15% national insurance. Then you've got council tax, road tax, car tax, stamp duty tax. There are 39 different taxes that you pay. The town centres are in ruin, they're run down, there's empty high streets and increasing homelessness. You get stabbed for a watch in London, and petty crime is now legal in the UK. The cost of living is soaring, and inflation has wiped out 35% of your money in the last 5 years alone. You work 3 days out of 5 for the government, and you pay £4,000 a year in government debt interest. Then when you finally pay off your house and you retire, you're looking at 40% inheritance tax. And this is just the beginning. The UK want to tax you even more, and they want a digital ID, and they want more control. There will be no cash soon whatsoever. You'll get imprisoned for your social media posts. You own less and less and less. You give away more and more and more. And people wonder why everyone's either leaving the UK or taking the streets to protest.
Yeah, you know, there's no more money, no accommodation, nothing. And you are homeless?
No, I've got a little flat down the road.
Okay. Yeah, I'm talking to random people on the streets to get their opinion, and the majority of people seem to think that life is getting really, really bad.
Yeah.
So, what makes you say that?
I don't know, I don't think it's getting better at all, is it?
Yeah. Over the last 20 years or so,
So,
what changed the most that you're not happy with?
not enough money around.
Not enough money around, yeah. Yeah.
Not enough accommodation either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's your name, sir?
Peter.
Peter.
Yeah.
Wow. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it now.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah. Would you like a spare change or something? Oh, okay. Hold on, get that first. I think I've got some more. There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You have a nice day, yeah? Bye-bye. Yeah, what do you think about the current situation in the UK now? Is life getting better?
Welcome to Blighty Blighted, your daily reminder that chaos doesn't usually arrive with sirens. It arrives quietly. I want to talk about the hard chaos coming for Britain. Not the dramatic sort you see on the news, but the slow, grinding kind that creeps in while everyone argues about side issues. Most people think collapse looks like riots and fires. It doesn't. It looks like systems failing politely, trains that don't run, doctors you can't see, councils that don't collect, police stretched thin, schools overwhelmed, everything just fraying. It's not exciting chaos, it's administrative chaos. One of the biggest pressures is immigration, and we need to speak about it sensibly, not hysterically. Britain has always absorbed newcomers. That's not new. What is new is the scale, speed, and lack of control. Housing can't cope. Services can't cope. Communities change faster than trust can form. And ordinary Brits are told to accept endless pressure while being labelled cruel for noticing it. That's how resentment grows. Quietly, underground. Then there's money, debt, a population that can't save. a generation that can't get on, an aging society relying on systems that no longer work properly. A country running on credit and patience eventually runs out of both. History's seen this before. The fall of Rome wasn't one big moment. It was decay. Borders stretched, systems overloaded, leadership disconnected. People stopped believing the center could protect them. Sound familiar?
I don't think the public realises how bad it is. If you were born in the 1950s, you were born in 1958 to be exact, when you sat your O-levels, you had a 90% chance of living with your mum and dad. Who was born in the 70s? Who are the winners here? Yep. If you were born in 1970, by the time you sat your O-levels, you had an 80% chance. Was anyone born this century? When you sat your GCSEs, your chances were 50-50 that you lived with your parents. I don't think the public realises how serious the situation is. That family stability in the UK has collapsed. It doubles your chances going out of school. I gave you the welfare statistics earlier. Healthcare, people don't think about health and relationships. Marriage is a protective factor in 6 different cancers, bigger than chemotherapy, because your partner will get you to your appointment. They will see if something's going wrong. I don't just think that the government should encourage marriage. I think we need a massive public education campaign as to what is happening in every area of society, because we do not take family seriously anymore.
Alright, me and my 2 childhood friends have literally just quit our jobs and we've got a one-way ticket to Thailand and we go on the 31st of March.
Let's go!
Because we think staying here at the minute is just not viable, because we're having to work 9 to 5 jobs also while trying to pursue a dream, and doing that in the UK is just near impossible nowadays. Just with the cost of living, the weather is normally shit, the quality of life here is just not good, everyone's miserable, no one really wants to see you do well either, and that's why we're gonna go. So our other friend isn't here right now, but
Working.
yeah, he's working. That's the reason why we have to go, so we can actually pursue it, because we all can't be together and doing it all the time, because we obviously have other commitments and we need to survive. So if you do want to follow the journey, just follow this account and we're gonna be posting pretty much every day until we go, and then every day after that. But right, see you guys later.
Elon Musk recently says he believes civil war in the UK is very close. You said we're on anger and teetering on the edge. Do you think we're close to civil war?
My ear is very close to the ground.
Because of your background?
I'm one of the people, mate. Grassrooted. I'm a survivor and thriver. I'm not a politician. I don't fit up in this sort of trajectory of hierarchy within the government. Not saying that I won't make my way there, because I will, but my ear is very close to the ground, mate. And if I could tell the people how temperamental things are right now in the UK, and if someone gave a certain order, and there's a few influential people at ground level, I'm not talking about government, politics, MOD, I'm talking about ground level. If we gave a certain order, all hell would erupt in the UK. The troops are aligned. The armies are behind certain people, to the point where if certain people pressed a certain button to say enough's enough, you'd have an army of millions that would just wipe this place out.
Wow.
Fact. I know it.
What would cause that button to be pressed?
I think any more children being murdered, any more people, Brits being murdered.
The government are going to check your bank account even if you've done nothing wrong. No, this is not a joke. This is true. The government are going to bring in new powers next year so the Department of Work and Pension can check on people's bank accounts, particularly people on benefits. So effectively, people who are unemployed. The idea is to catch fraudsters. But here's the thing, banks will be able to flag up any unusual activity, like large deposits or savings that don't match what somebody is claiming. It's being sold as data sharing measures, but for many, it feels a bit like Big Brother, particularly those who are unemployed or on benefits. You don't even have to be under investigation for them to request to look into your bank account. So if you are getting any kind of benefits, make sure everything in your claim is accurate. Because if your bank activity doesn't line up, you could get flagged automatically and they could start rootling around in your bank account. So what do you think about this? Do you think it's a good idea, a bad idea? I'd love to know in the comments section.
I went to town yesterday because I needed to get some warm clothes because I've left all my shit in Dubai. Within 10 minutes of being in town, I see someone getting chased by security at the shop because they stole a big coat. I see police patrolling the town centre, which I haven't seen that anywhere I've been for the last 9 months. The level of homelessness here is insane as well. Like, you can understand why people don't want to be in the UK. It's cold. People are miserable. There's crime everywhere. And now I've just heard that they're bringing in some new mad tax about people on Vinted, Etsy and eBay selling their second-hand clothes. You're going to get taxed on that. Look, I love the UK, home comforts and all that. I love the country, but it is falling apart. I'm already missing that morning dopamine of waking up and just seeing blue skies and the sun, and it's just warm, and I don't need to wear 4 layers. But anyway, enough of that. I'm going to go hit a gym session. I hope you all have a sick Monday.
If you think the UK economy is finally getting better, you might want to hear this, because the numbers and the reality on the ground tell 2 very different stories. We keep hearing that growth is improving and inflation is easing, but look at your rent, your weekly shop and your energy bills. If they're not falling, then the economy's not recovering in any meaningful way for normal people. Wages have ticked up, but inflation has eaten most of that gain. Interest rates are still high enough to crush mortgages and small business lending, and disposable income is shrinking, not growing. Politicians like to talk about turning a corner, but ask yourself this. If the corner's been turned, why does it still feel like we're stuck in the same place? The job market looks strong on paper, but too much of it is part-time or lower paid work, and businesses are holding back on investment because taxes, trade and energy costs remain uncertain. So the truth's uncomfortable. We're not heading into collapse, but we're not heading into recovery either. We're drifting, and drifting is dangerous because it makes people think the worst is over when nothing has actually changed. The only test that matters is simple. Are your bills shrinking? Is your income stretching? And are you able to save? Until those answers are yes, the economy's not recovering, whatever the headlines say. And that's the part you'll not hear from the mainstream media.
I'm going to be honest, guys, at the moment I just can't sleep very well. I'm pretty stressed out, and I'll tell you why. I'm looking at the numbers about what's happening around the world, and 6 years ago when I started this mission of like let people follow their dreams, I was just like, give people the knowledge that they've got a choice to be an entrepreneur, informed consent before they go to university, like choices, more options than just get a job and get into debt and buy a house, all that sort of like debt-related treadmill stuff. And here's the scary thing that's keeping me up. I'm looking at the numbers, like 52% of kids coming out of university, you probably, can't get a job. So turns out going on benefit is cheap, make more money. Average person, you can earn couple £69,000 a year. If you go on benefit as a couple, £71,000 a year. So not only are there no jobs, you might as well go on benefit than actually get a job, even if you can find one. And we're forgetting the power of work, power of contribution, power of having a purpose in life. And you get stripped away into like an addicted to social benefit life. On top of that, we've got 1 million kids not in school and 1 million kids not in work under the age of 23. I think we have to encourage people to start businesses, to give them purpose. And it can just be a dog walking business or something they love. But we have to give people choice, a new choice, which isn't sit around doing nothing.
I hope you guys get your mojo back. This was once a great country. I want to see it great again. You guys are a husk of your former self. You guys, you can laugh and sneer all you want, but the country that split the atom and invented the steam engine and eradicated slavery and brought common law to the world can do a lot better than this. And your existence led to our existence. And for whatever I can do, I hope that this country finds a leader or a group of leaders. I'm not here to give you political advice. I hate when foreigners do that to Americans. You guys do whatever you want. But I do have a wish that the world feels like it's missing something. It feels like it's missing something when Great Britain or England or whatever politically correct thing I have to say, because I guess England, I can't fly an English flag now, whatever nonsense that is. Like, be proud of your heritage. You've done good for the world. Stop apologizing. Get your energy, get your vitality, get what made England and made Great Britain such a phenomenal place. I hope you get that back. And I hope that you reject the swan song of multiculturalism and get back to the fundamental truism that a strong Britain means a strong world, and therefore a strong West, and we can stand up for what is good, true, and beautiful.
So it's New Year's Eve. I'm in Poland. It's thrashing down with snow, but I hope people at home in the UK are realising just how treacherous this Labour government has been over the last 12 months, if not longer. It's just unbelievable the stuff that's gone on in the UK over the last 12 months in particular. And I'm hoping that 2026 sees a real turnaround and the British people being put first, as they should be. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Reform UK will ensure that we still push and drive towards putting the British people first. I mean, even today I've seen posts in relation to social housing being given to asylum seekers who have leapfrogged, if you like, over British people that have been waiting on the waiting lists for God knows how long. Anyway, let's not have some doom and gloom. Let's have some happiness for 2026 and see you all on the other side.
Above minimum wage, you can afford a house and you could look after 2 children and you could be happy. Okay? Absolutely happy. Now, if you fast forward to this day and age, that house now is just sold quite recently and it was on for about 650 grand. Now, even if you were in the top 10% earners, even if both parents, so if you had children, if you got to say we're going to do the same, you've got 2 children, but if 2 adults in that house, right, were in the top 10% salaries. To be in the top 10% salaries, you have to earn anything above 55 grand a year. They would still struggle to afford that house. With a salary coming in of over 100 grand. Now, when you speak to the older generations, you are always met with this attitude, right, that they had it worse off. They had it worse off. And then when you start talking to them about inflationary economics and the fact that, well, house prices nowadays are 8 times the average salary. That the average person doesn't leave their parents' home until they are the age of 32. I think it went up to 35 and it's come down to 32. But I'm surprised it won't go back up to 35 or even beyond. And that's having an effect on people having children because they're not moving out of their parents' home, so they're not having kids. In fact, if you want to go down the social aspect, people are not even getting married anymore. And that, I'm going to try and, in fact, I'm not going to go down that tangent because I want to try and stay out of that era. I want to try and stay out of that conversation because that's a whole video in itself. That's a whole video in itself. And I want to do a bit more research before I go down that avenue. But yes, if you speak to the older generations, they will tell you, they will say, oh, it's nothing to do with affordability. Their sentiment is they feel like it's because of young people nowadays are spending too much money on shit. So if I speak to the older, people in my family who are from the older generations, they'll tell you the reason why young people can't afford a house at the moment is because they're spending too much money in cost of coffee. You know, they'll come out with a multitude of reasons why young people can't afford a house, anything other than the fact that inflation. You know, and it's a bit of a fallacy. It really feels like a bit of a fallacy that young people are seen as pissing the money up the wall, and older generations see themselves as having it worse off because the access to luxuries is a lot more now than it used to be then.
Britain is officially broke. In 2026, our national debt is hitting £3 trillion for the first time ever. Get this, we are now spending £135 billion a year just on interest. That's more than we spend on our entire national defense and nearly the same as the education budget. And the government plans to borrow another £430 billion over the next 5 years. Even though the unemployment is sinking and borrowing costs are surging. So we are essentially paying off a credit card with another credit card. So is the UK economy a sinking ship or we can borrow our way out? Drop yes or no in the comments.
This is the reality of our country and I can't believe more people aren't talking about it. I've been making videos for the last few months saying I don't understand how normal working people are surviving week to week, month to month. And this story epitomises that. And it's heartbreaking. So I was sat having a coffee. On the table next to me, a lady comes over. Sits there for maybe 10-15 minutes, but she's on the phone for most of the time. And she was on the phone to, I think it was a family member. I'm not sure if it was daughter, son, but it was definitely a family member. And towards the end of the conversation, she says, my council tax hasn't come out yet. Bearing in mind, this is like the 6th or 7th of November. And she says, I've got 200 quid left. When that comes out, I've got 50 quid to last me the month. I was like, holy fuck. She's basically got 3/4 of a month to last with 50 quid. And this is the sad reality of our country. How on earth is she going to survive for nearly a full month with 50 quid? We've got Christmas coming up as well. People start the Christmas shopping, don't they, in November? Now, like I say, I don't know this woman. I don't know what her situation is. I don't know what her finances were. But she certainly wasn't there, living the life of luxury. Like I say, working class town, normal working woman. And by the 6th of November, 7th of November, she's got 50 quid left to last the rest of the month. How on earth do people survive? And at the end of the month, there's going to be another 3% increase on income tax. And I think VAT is going to go up. And then you've got 3 pence a mile coming on your electric cars, which we know will filter down to normal cars. I keep thinking breaking points here, and people are going to be like, I haven't got enough money now to pay, so I can't pay. But how on earth do these people keep digging themselves out of this hole? I just don't understand it. But that's heartbreaking. 50 quid to last you nearly 3/4 of a month. Holy shit, what in the broken Britain?
What about the hard landing recession? This was always the alternative to the soft landing. Well, this is if the UK economy contracts significantly, so we lose, say, 1% of GDP in 2026 due to lag effects of rates, not kicking in quickly enough, these rate cuts, and also unemployment feedback loops. Well, I put a low probability on this one, but still around 20%, because the current minus 0.1% contraction suggests that the slide has begun. I'm far lower than the economic consensus on this. Most people would tell you, most economists would say there's maybe a 40 or 50% chance of this happening. Some are saying 60%. My eggs are much more in the keep calm and carry on basket, which won't surprise everyone, won't surprise anybody. I've had a tendency to be right over the past few years when I've moved away from the consensus. I spend most of my time away from the consensus, but when I've deviated significantly, I've tended to be right around interest rates, around inflation, and things like that. My prediction is betting on the fact that the budget prelims were just more damaging than anybody else is giving them credit for. So I'm hopeful that we start 2026 with a bit of a bang. Consumers are going to become a little bit more confident again and work out the fact that actually, although all these tax rises were there in the budget, they're not kicking in for years, some of them yet, so haven't really impacted too much. I think people will still be saving towards it, to be honest, towards their mansion tax, towards whatever else, but there we go. So whilst this is bad for the wider economy, ironically it's bullish for gilt yields. In a recession, investors buy bonds and then prices get driven down. So it could bring mortgage rates down even further if it did happen. So you might not be very happy for me to hear me say that I don't think it's particularly likely. But there we go. I always call it as I see it. Are leveraged investors going to get a bit of a lifeline if that does happen? Well, if they can find solvent tenants, maybe. But there we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So guys, this weekend, the clocks go back 1 hour. I wish I could take it back to 1940, when this country had bollocks. So what I've seen over the last couple of weeks on the news is absolutely shocking. This government is making this country fall apart. Absolutely pathetic left wing. I also cannot believe how many snowflakes what surround us on everyday life. There's so much disrespect in this country. And I blame that on the parenting. I really do. When I was growing up, I had a strict upbringing. But I respected my parents. I respected everybody around me. This day and age, nobody respects anybody. Yet, when you go to Thailand, there's so much respect shown. This country is falling apart. And I, for one, will be absolutely thrilled to pieces when I finally get out of this place. Peace out, everybody.
Is 2026 going to be the year the UK finally finds its feet? We're looking at a major economic pivot and a political storm that could change everything. Here is what you need to know. The economy. After a year on pause, confidence might finally return to the UK markets. Inflation is falling, interest rates are dropping, and now all eyes are on growth. The big question for 2026, can we pull unemployment down from that 5% mark and spark a real economic revival? UK politics. It's a midterm year. May 2026 brings the Scottish and local elections with the Labour Party polling badly and the Greens, Reform and a surging Tory party all fighting for ground. The stakes are huge. If the results are bad, will Starmer and Reeves even survive? Which way do you think the UK is headed? Let me know in the comments section and follow for part 2 on AI and the Ukraine situation.
Average house prices, I think, will rise by about 4%, but not for the reasons you've heard. It's not supply and demand. To understand what's coming, you need to get your head around three things. Number one is real interest rates. Number two is M4 money supply. And number three is the honey trap of the Cantillon effect. Most people will get this wrong and it will cost them. So first, the engine. Falling real rates. Inflation has dropped off a cliff and swap rates are following it down. The cost of money is getting cheaper and lenders are desperate for business. We aren't just seeing rate cuts, we're seeing them increase leverage. When the monthly payment drops, the price of assets rise. That's simple math. Second, the fuel. M4 money supply. This is the total amount of money circulating in the economy. In the UK, most new money is created when banks issue mortgages. And guess what? 100% LTV mortgages are back. That means banks are printing new credit to let people with zero deposit buy houses. This is a massive injection of liquidity directly into the housing market. But why does this make you poorer and homeowners richer? Now, to answer that, we need to talk about Richard Cantillon. He was an economist and banker who wrote a famous book in the early 1700s. In fact, he was the guy that influenced Adam Smith, and his big discovery was something called the Cantillon effect. And it was simple but terrifying. Money is not neutral. Cantillon proved that where new money enters the economy matters just as much as how much enters. And he explained that new money doesn't just teleport into everyone's pockets instantly, it enters at a specific injection point. In 2026, that injection point will be the mortgage market. Cantillon described money flowing like honey, not water. So imagine pouring honey onto a plate. It piles up in the middle first, and the people standing in the middle, banks, investors, asset owners, get this new money first. They get to spend it at yesterday's prices, buying up houses before inflation hits. They are what's called the first receivers. By the time that honey oozes out of the edge of the saucer, where your wages are, prices have already risen to absorb the new money. You're the last receiver. So while the homeowner sees their wealth grow, you just see your cost of living go up. So my 4% prediction isn't about houses getting better or anyone getting richer. It's about money getting weaker for the last receivers.
I told you this would happen months ago, didn't I? And I've been proven right yet again. Unemployment is up, as announced today. In the last 3 months, around 88,000 jobs were lost in the UK economy. Why? Well, it's common sense, isn't it? If you tax jobs, like Rachel Reeves has done by putting national insurance contributions up for employers, and you also implement legislation that creates a barrier to recruiting people and taking people on, it's common sense that employers are either going to make people redundant or freeze their hiring plans. This is a big worry, especially for young people. I know there's a lot of graduates out there, for example, and your hopes and aspirations at the moment, in my opinion, are being wrecked by this Labour government. You see, the problem is when you put barriers in front of business, what do? They either stop recruiting, freeze recruitment, or they go abroad and they do business elsewhere. And that is what's happening in the UK. And more worryingly, I have to say, is do I think it's going to get worse in 2026? I do, sadly.
People of the UK, you recognize that your country is already fucked, right? Like, there's nothing you can do to save it. Like, within a generation, the UK will fall. I mean, really, unless you're prepared to expel a few million people, you're already fucked. Because you guys have already let in 3 to 4 million Muslim refugees from the Middle East. And sure, in relative numbers, that's not a ton of people, but you have to think about the fact that Middle Eastern Muslims have an average of 5 to 6 kids per household. So in a generation, that 3 to 4 million translates to 7 to 9 million. Now, I know in your head, you're still thinking, well, we have a population of 70 million. I mean, that's only 10% of the population. And to that, I say, yes, you do have a 70 million person population. However, only about half of them are registered to vote. And at the end of the day, only about 30 million actually do. So now you're not taking 7 to 9 million people as part of a 70 million population. No, now you're taking 7 to 9 million people as part of 30 million voters. So instead of being 10% of your total population, in a generation, those refugees will represent roughly 30% of your voting base. And if you don't think that's going to lead to them electing people that they want to elect, you haven't been paying attention. Because right now, they hold a very, very tiny percentage of your population, yet they managed to get the leaders they want elected in your biggest cities, to include your capital city. So if they can do that, on just the few million they have, what do you think your country's going to be like? Your country. What do you think the UK is going to be like in a generation? I'm sorry, people of the UK, but your country has already fallen. It's just going to take you about a generation to recognize it.
Mate, the UK is falling apart. So you must have heard that
The government taking control of the NHS, 10,000 job losses. Inflation is going up. From April, council tax, electric, gas, TV license, and so on keeps going up. Our wages just about is going up. That does not even make a difference because that will get cut in taxes. So what's really left here? Unless you're working a proper job, like, making 70, 80k a year, you're under the 20, 30k bracket. You're screwed because you hardly can afford it. Imagine just one person living by himself. You can't afford all that unless you live in a small, tiny apartment and still struggle. Even council tax going up, like what the heck? So what does this mean for the UK? Like, UK is one of the most expensive countries currently going. So one thing I'm thinking is it they want to just get rid of the migrants? So, they increase everything so more people leave? Or it's just UK going downhill? It makes me worried. Doesn't it make you?
You know when Britain fell apart? When men started playing football on a Sunday morning rather than going to church. And it's mad that I'm saying that as someone who played Sunday League football for 12 years. Like, it's 100% true. Now listen, I still love football. But football and pubs did not build this country. Christian values built this country. And you wonder why we've become so weak. Because we've let go of what built us. So many men know that this country has lost its identity. And the West as a whole, by the way. It's not even just this country. But are still not returning to what actually built it. Football and pubs is not a strong enough foundation to get this country back to where it once was. Jesus said himself in Matthew 7 that he shall be the rock that builds your house. That house will not fall through any storm. The Christian men that are still in this country and in the West and Europe in general start telling everyone what they need to hear. Bring Christ back to the centre of our culture.
Question for you about the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. Is it in a death spiral? Is it in a doom loop? Are we seeing its final days? I think that the answer to that question is probably yes, certainly in its current format. I don't see it lasting in its current format, the licence fee format that everyone has to pay for beyond the end of its parliament. I think whoever wins the next election, and whenever that next election comes, it will be changed, and the BBC as we've known it for almost a century will end. What makes me say that today? Well, more and more people clearly are cancelling their licences anyway, but also just something that's come out over the last day or so. The viewing figures for BBC television over the Christmas period have come out, and they are the lowest they've ever been. Dramatically lower than ever before. I think last year they said that the Gavin Stacey Christmas special got tens of millions of viewers, 15 million, 18 million, something like that. I think the highest programme this Christmas got about 3.5 to 4 million viewers. I couldn't be bothered to take that much notice of the exact numbers, but it's around that number, 3.5 to 4 million viewers. That's a massive drop off. To put that into some perspective, I'm a massive Only Fools and Horses fan. I think it's one of the greatest TV series ever made by distance. Do you remember the climactic programme, which I think was back in about 95, 96, might have been 97, when they finally found the watch, the Harrison watch was it, I think it was called, took it to auction at Sotheby's, and it raised like 4.2 million quid, and they finally had become millionaires. That got 24.5 million people watching it, which was half the population of England. It was about a third of the population, or more than a third of the population, 40% of the population of the entire country. Those days are gone. They're never coming back. And actually, whilst many people would be very glad to see the back of the BBC, my take on it is that we have lost something as a community, lost something as a country, in the sense that we no longer come together for these mass communal events. Yes, we all love Netflix and Disney and Paramount and Apple TV and YouTube and social media, etc, etc, etc. But what that has done is it's fractured the community, it's spread everyone's attention. We no longer have those great big set piece moments that 20, 25 million people all sat down together and watched. We no longer have the Christmas #1. I know there is a Christmas #1, but nobody knows what the hell it is. We no longer have the Christmas Top of the Pops. We no longer have the Christmas special of Only Fools and Horses. We don't have those big communal moments that entire families sit and watch together, that entire workplaces talk about when they go back to work. And so we don't have those shared experiences, we don't have those shared community moments. And it's one of the reasons why we've become much more divided and fractured as a community, as a country, as a people. In families now, in homes, you have one son upstairs playing on his PS5, another one watching YouTube, another one downstairs watching a film on Netflix. Everyone has got a different experience. People aren't sharing those same experiences. So yes, I know we all hate what the BBC has become. Yes, I know we hate how woke it has become, the agenda that it pushes upon all of us, the liberal nature of it. We all object to that. Nobody doesn't. But in losing it completely, and in losing the focus on mainstream TV completely, we also lose something as a community. And I know full well that everyone under the age of 40 is going to disagree with me, that they're ardently addicted to YouTube and ardently addicted to Netflix and will go, well, I never watch BBC and ITV, there's never anything good on. That will be their argument. But just understand my broader argument, which is that by none of us ever having the same experiences, by none of us sharing those great big massive sporting moments, or comedy moments, or music moments, or cultural moments together as a family, as an extended family, as a group of friends, as a workplace, as a town, as a city, as a country, then it fractures us a little bit further apart. We don't have that common bond that used to bind us all together. And that, to me, is a massive shame. So I'm not defending the BBC. I'm not defending the shit that they put out. I bought the Radio Times or TV Times or one of the two, and I scrolled through the pages. And this year, for the first time ever, I struggled to find anything that I thought, oh yeah, I must watch that or I must record that. There's been a few reasonable things on, but actually you could sit on the sofa in front of mainstream TV pretty much all day and go, can't find anything to watch. And that's never been the case in the past. And that is a massive shame. And the fact that we don't share those experiences is also a shame as far as I'm concerned. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I hope you understand the wider meaning of what I'm saying. That I'm not trying to defend those TV channels. I'm not trying to defend the content they put out. I'm just bemoaning the loss of a common cultural community and country experience. Because unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get that back.
Certain banks in America are going to start to collapse. I believe that will happen. I think the French economy, the British economy, the German economy are heading towards serious trouble. And it's going to cause financial problems next year. The American economy in particular as well is going to be in serious trouble next year. We could potentially see an epic crash. Bigger than the one we saw in 2007, 2006, that kind of period. So this gentleman says, should we buy a house mortgage to live in the UK now, or should we wait for a potential crash in 2026? Please make a video on this. I feel you have a good eye on the global financial system. Thank you. I'm not talking about a buy-to-let or investment property. So he wants a property to live in, right? I'm not buying anything. I'm not buying any more buy-to-lets ever. Only going to be commercial property. Maybe a block of apartments or something like that. No more buy-to-lets, can't be arsed with that shit. Sorry. I've got enough. More than enough. Too many. I'm not feeling it anymore. But if the banks start to collapse in America, is Trump going to bail him out? No. I don't think he is. It suits his agenda. Let the banking sector collapse. Let everyone come onto crypto instead. More DeFi instead. That's what I think he's thinking. Either way, I don't see him bailing out the banks. They don't have that kind of money anymore. Same here. We can't pay the debt that we've got. That's our biggest problem. Rachel Reeves, our so-called chancellor, she's now going to try and balance the books by taxing us even more to pay that debt that we simply can't pay off. Every other single Western country's got more or less the same problem. Same in France, same in Germany, same with many other nations, in particular same with America. No one's paying that debt back. The whole thing's going to come to a head at some point or another. My gut feeling is we're heading for major problems in 2026. And there might be some deals to be had. I think the whole way of valuing, the main reason to get into property, it was to make sure was to counter inflation. That's really what it was. But, so the only three assets that are going to count going forward going to be, number one, gold, silver, Bitcoin, one or two maybe other altcoins, property. That's it. That's it, people. Some stocks and shares as well. As in, some people who will have shares in certain AI companies or mining companies, so on and so, they're going to do really well. Or larger companies, they're going to do really well. Everybody else, what are they going to do? They're going to be doomed. We've got serious problems coming at some point. That's my gut feeling here. We can't pay that debt. No one else can pay that debt. It's got to come to a head at some point. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Either way, I'm waiting until 2026 before I even start looking at properties again. I'm thinking if there's going to be a major crash, wait for fear in the property market.
Rome didn't collapse because of barbarians alone. It collapsed because it couldn't manage itself anymore. Britain isn't there yet. But the warning signs are flashing quietly while everyone's distracted. Too much strain, too little honesty, too many sacred cows. The danger ahead isn't some dramatic apocalypse. It's a loss of cohesion, where people stop trusting institutions, stop believing rules apply fairly, and start retreating into themselves. That's when things get hard. Nations don't fall when people argue. They fall when people disengage. I've lived long enough to know this. Stability is fragile. It needs honesty, limits, and leadership with backbone. Without that, decline doesn't roar. It whispers. Britain's future chaos won't arrive all at once. It'll arrive gradually, until one day people realize it's already here. Cheerio. And I will see you all in the next video.